In this video, we're going to be taking a look at topic 8.10, waste reduction methods. Now, the production of waste is an inevitable, unavoidable part of living in modern industrialized society. No matter how hard we try, no matter how much recycling or reducing or reusing we do, waste production will always be a fact of life. Whether it's the packaging materials that your Amazon delivery came in, or even unused building materials, waste happens. And as populations grow and consumption of goods increases, inevitably the amount of waste that's produced is going to continue to grow. Now, by using different strategies, we can reduce the amount of waste that ends up in landfills, thereby extending the life of those landfills. We can also ensure the protection of the quality of our groundwater, even reducing the need for mining and extracting new fossil fuels, and promoting and preserving natural spaces like parks and other recreational areas. The most well-known method by which we can reduce waste is certainly recycling. Recycling involves the breakdown of the goods and products that we've disposed of into their component parts and materials. For example, that could mean breaking apart a product to extract the plastic from it, the metals, or even the glass, and then recycling those components into new plastics, new metals, and new glass that can be used to create new products. Commonly recycled materials include things like paper products, plastics, metals, and glass. We're going to watch a short video now that will illustrate how New York City utilizes one of the largest recycling facilities to process some of its waste.
New York City's main recycling facility. We take in all of the residential recycling in bins and bags throughout the 5 boroughs. Comes here and we sort it out. zero waste by 2030 goal. We need to make sure that everything that's out there that is recyclable gets into a bin, gets into a bag, makes its way here, and that we have the capacity to process it.
So in that video, you probably observed products that you may be using in your everyday life that could be recycled. Plastic is a really great example of a recyclable product because of the fact that in order to produce plastics, we need to extract fossil fuels from the earth and refine it. So by recycling plastics, we can greatly reduce the amount of fossil fuels that need to be extracted for that purpose. You've probably recognized on some of the plastic products that you use these chasing arrow diagrams that illustrate what kind of plastic it is and tell you that in fact those are recyclable materials. Because recycling reduces the demand for new raw materials to be taken from the earth, this helps us to preserve habitats for species, also reduce pollution, including that which comes from fossil fuels in the extraction process. Unfortunately, most potentially recycled products don't in fact end up being recycled and rather end up in landfills instead. Recycling is an energy-intensive process and is somewhat expensive. Not only that, but certain recycling processes like that for which paper is used does require the use of pretty high amounts of fresh water. Another method by which we can reduce waste is via composting. Composting is a process that utilizes aerobic microorganisms that use oxygen to biodegrade certain kinds of materials. The kinds of materials that we can compost include food wastes, yard clippings, and uncoated paper products. So paper products that don't have a plastic or waxy coating on them. That resulting material that we call compost is very nutrient rich and can be used as a fertilizer. This diagram here, in a really simple way, illustrates the composting process. Those aerobic microorganisms, along with the compostable material, are mixed together, along with oxygen from the atmosphere, slowly biodegrades that material into compost. Water vapor, an increase in temperature also occurs, and a little bit of carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. Now, composting facilities can sometimes attract pests, especially during certain stages of the composting process, and quite frankly, it doesn't smell too good either. Now, when it comes to certain products and the recycling of those products, like electronic waste, special measures need to be taken because of the contents of that electronic waste. Waste products like old cell phones, laptops, computers, televisions oftentimes have toxic and heavy metals within them, including lead and mercury. Because of the nature of those toxic materials, they need to be broken down in a very controlled setting so that those materials are not released into the environment, contaminating air and groundwater. This illustration here shows a small, highly simplified version of the e-waste recycling stream for how a computer might be broken down. You can see that there are metals being extracted from the computer like gold and platinum and palladium. You can also see that certain chemicals like sulfuric acid and copper sulfate are being used to help recycle those materials. Unfortunately, what that means is that the recycling process itself produces wastes that also need to be neutralized so that there is no potential for contamination in the environment. The recycling of e-waste is extremely expensive, oftentimes to the point where it's cost prohibitive. So that means that e-waste ends up being disposed of improperly, sometimes in landfills, or being sent off to developing nations where people may be desperate to earn a living. Now, there is a connection between waste reduction and landfills. Landfills are not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Even if we were to recycle everything that we possibly could, there is still going to be a need for us to have a location into which we can deposit non-recyclable goods. What waste reduction allows us to do is extend the life of those landfills because the volume of the waste going into them would also be reduced. Another relationship to landfills is that as those materials break down in an anaerobic process without oxygen, there is methane gas that is produced by those chemical reactions. The methane gas that's produced by that can be captured and used to produce electricity. That would help to reduce the need for mining and drilling for new fossil fuels as a source of electricity generation. So that pretty much does it for me. See you in the next video.